And this is part of kind of the problems I'm seeing around the economy, around society. And we're finding a lot of people are defaulting or they're far past due on their car payments because we continue to watch vehicles get nicer and more expensive, and people still buy them even though their income isn't keeping up with that. Money can be complicated. Let a nerd help you. We're here to demystify the complex nature of money by getting you answers from financial nerds and whiz kids. Welcome to Ask the Money Nerds, a weekly segment of the Wealth Labs podcast where we answer your most pressing money questions. We get a lot of questions around financing vehicles. When is it a good time to pay cash? When is it okay to finance? When should I refinance and pay off other things? And, you know, we're going to have Stolba ask this question. We brought in Tim Carden, one of our money nerds, to support on this money matter. So what do we got going on, Stolba?
Yeah, our question comes in from Courtney. Her question is, what is the best company to refinance my car loan? But I want to dig a little bit deeper, so we're going to zoom out a little bit. When would someone consider refinancing their car loan? Let's start there, and then we'll give them some of the nuts and bolts of it.
I'll let Tim answer that after I say this. I actually pay cash for cars. Now, in my book, What Would the Rockefellers Do? We show how you could actually end up ahead by using cash value to finance cars. We actually show the numbers and all that kind of stuff. I do it because of the hassle factor. I just don't want to deal with it. I just want to pay cash. I'm not buying vehicles all that often, you know, and like I think my Mercedes I had for like 6 years or something, and my truck I plan on keeping for the same amount of time. And so I just pay cash because I just want to be out of the dealership as quickly as possible. As a matter of fact, I didn't even go to the dealership for my truck.
Oh,
it was
sweet.
dropped
How did you
off
get
when
by
I was
with
in
that?
Seattle and came home. I was like, this is awesome. My cousin was a salesperson. So
nice.
I really appreciated her for that. So that's one thing. Now, if I ever got into some major cash crunch, had double-digit interest rates, had something like that, refinancing one of those vehicles can make a lot of sense because there's credit unions here in our state that you can get like 1.9% interest rate, you know, on a 5-year loan. So that's really, really cheap money.
Yeah.
And it's an installment loan, which can actually boost your credit. But now that I put in my 2 cents, Tim?
I agree with you there that whenever you have high interest rate credit cards or high interest rate debts, a car loan is a great place to get a really low interest rate. When she said a best overall company in general, credit unions are going to be about 2% cheaper across the board than a bank. So you're going to most likely want to refinance if you're going to refinance by a credit union. I've also seen it's rare, but this is a hard one too, because cars are rapidly depreciating assets.
Right.
But I've seen situations where people are in a really serious financial crunch and they might not have enough, you know, equity in that car to liquidate the car completely and like sell it to get something different. So you might go back into the credit union and you might have taken a car that was a 5-year note. You've had it for 3 years, make it into a 5-year note again.
Not ideal, but
Not ideal.
if you're in a cash crunch.
Real big cash crunch, it'll save you some cash flow. Right.
Right. So that's an installment. It's an installment loan that's a fixed period of time, where a credit card's a revolving loan. Mm-hmm. So you can pay it down, charge it back up. So that's why it's preferred by the credit companies, is because you're not, you know, you'd have to go through a full refinance, which if they look, people are maxing out credit cards quite a bit. Mm-hmm. They're not really refinancing car loans. A lot of people don't even think of that as one of the options.
Yeah. And then they can go for you like credit cards at 20% down to a 1.9% car loan. A lot of interest savings.
That's a huge savings.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's say Courtney is ready to refinance her car loan and she's gone with a credit union because she found a good interest rate. What's the process of doing that?
You go into the bank, tell them you want to refinance your car loan. You're going to have a pretty decent credit score if you want the 1.9%. And you have to see if there's equity in the car. So that's the other problem some people run into on the cars. You buy it brand new off the lot. A lot of times you go into negative equity pretty fast. And so the car may not be worth as much as she owes. That could be an issue when you're going to refinance the car for sure.
Do you buy new or used?
I buy used most of the time. Mm-hmm. I look for a year or two old, very low mileage. I've made friends with some dealers over the years. So a lot of times I can go in and get the car from the auctions.
Yep. I bought some auction vehicles.
Yeah.
And got really good deals on those.
Exactly. So I even one time got my wife the exact same car she was already driving for $8,000 less by going in and sitting next to the dealer and buying it straight from the auction through the dealer. So
yeah,
if you can make a really good friend with a dealer, that's a good idea.
we took a money order of the exact amount I was willing to spend, and then the vehicle I was willing to trade in when we bought my wife's car. And so we're looking at these cars, but these all seem really expensive. So we ended up, the guy says, well, let's look at what's used out there. Mm-hmm. And we're able to find a used one and negotiate and get exactly what we needed to walk away with just that day, which was nice because I like just going in with, this is where I'm at mentally. And I've already got the check in hand. There's nothing, it's just, who am I making this check out to, essentially, which dealership. And she loves her vehicle. So that one, I think we saved like 25% by buying a 1-year-old car with 17,000 miles on it, which is a decent amount of miles in a year and a half. But it was in amazing condition. Like, it looks brand new. This person took great care of the vehicle. It's under one of those pre-used or whatever, warranties. So we're in a good spot there. But on my truck, I bought new. I wanted that specific truck. I was in love with it. It was maybe I paid a premium, but it was a premium I was willing to pay. So if you're willing to buy used, I think that it's really helpful.
Yeah.
For
sure. And the other thing to think about when you're buying cars, especially in new cars, right? You'll get that trick of like 0% interest or a rebate. And the way to figure out
that is a trick.
It is a trick, right? So they'll be like, you can either get a $5,000 rebate or 0% interest. Well, the $5,000 rebate, the way you figure out if that's a good deal, go to the credit union ahead of time, see what interest rate would be, see what the term would be, calculate how much interest you would have paid over the 5-year note or 6-year note or 7-year note on the car loan. If the interest to the credit union is more than the $5,000 rebate, then it's a good idea to take the 0% from the bank. If the interest you would have paid to the credit union is less than the $5,000 rebate, then that means the car company is charging you $5,000 of interest upfront on day one.
It's actually a financing cost.
I don't think that's common knowledge.
Marketing.
It's a marketing scheme.
That's a great marketing technique.
So they say, we'll just charge them the $5,000 of interest on day one, and then say it's 0% from that point forward, or you can get.
And the other thing to consider with that is sometimes the 0% is on a shorter term note.
It is
36 months. Now I think one of the problems we have with vehicles today is people are financing for 84 months.
Yeah.
So they're looking at the payment and they're managing it based upon their budget on the payment. But now they have a depreciating asset that, are they really going to keep that for 84 months?
Yeah.
And in the past, they might have financed that over 60 months. So they've really added 2 years and go, oh, yeah, it's still the same payment. Yes, but it's for 2 years longer. And this is part of kind of the problems I'm seeing around the economy, around society. And we're finding a lot of people are defaulting, or they're far past due on their car payments, because we continue to watch vehicles get nicer and more expensive, and people still buy them even though their income isn't keeping up with that, right?
Yeah, we hear that a lot.
Yep. And people are going in to do a refinance and they're underwater because they did an 84-month loan. And so there was no way that depreciation went way past
you
the principal.
lose your options.
Yeah.
You lose your options. So look, I personally enjoy paying cash. I did not in the first vehicle I ever bought. I did a kind of a cool trick. It was I went in, I bought the last year's model that was still on the lot when the new models came. And so Honda Finance gave me a smoking deal on a lease. Now, it was a Acura 3.5 RL, payment just over $550 on the lease. To buy that was just under $800. So what I did is I did the lease. I put money into cash flow banking for the difference. And then when there was the residual 39 months later, I bought the car out. So it shaved off almost 2 years just because they were trying to move the vehicles, and because it was their company that was also the financing company. They just worked out like, hey, they don't want to sit on this inventory. So at least getting that cash flow is helpful. I tried to do that the next time I bought a vehicle, and the terms weren't there. I actually would have been so much worse off leasing. And I know that we've heard people say leasing is getting fleeced, but when you're a business owner, you might be able to write off the full lease where you might not be able to write off the full payment. So you got to take that into consideration. What's the cash flow? What's the payment on a lease versus, like, when I did the Mercedes, I leased it just because I'm like, I don't know if the value of this car is going to be there in a few years. And I want to be able to just walk away.
Yeah.
Right. And then I had that option. I bought it out, but I could have just walked away because of that. So there are a few considerations here, but I actually take in a calculator. I just run the numbers when I'm sitting there with the dealer back in the day. But now I don't even go in. So as you get to that point, it's nice to have those options, but at least there's a few considerations there. Anything else for you, Stolba?
I don't have anything. Tim?
All right.
No.
Stolba, I'll speak on her behalf. Don't get too much of a vehicle that becomes a huge burden and you got all this huge payment and it's precluding you from doing the career that you want because you have to make the payment, or it's preventing you from being able to pay other loans because it's sucking up so much of your money. A nice car, sure, that's great, but having the nightmare of making that payment when you've overextended yourself, when you've spent too much money, be really careful about that. Be really mindful so you can get ahead financially and that you've got more options moving forward in the future.